Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask Podcast Live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I miss you. Of course, I do. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know, when I have guests in the house, I always get excited. And why do I get excited? Because they always have a wealth of information that you can use. Okay. So, today I want to bring back our quarterly returning guest, Miss Patricia Rencher of Urban Aging News. So, you know, Pat comes and visits us every 3 months or so. And what does that mean? That means when Pat comes to reach with us to discuss with you what's going on through the community, she has done her homework, looked up services for you that you may not have thought about, but you know you need. So without further ado, let's bring on in Miss Pat Rencher. Hey, Pat, Patricia Rencher.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good as well.
Good, good. I always tell people how excited I am, you know, when I have guests. And you're one of my favorite guests to have because why? We always share in common some very helpful resources to make sure that the community runs smooth. People in the community have their resources that can help their business or their situation run smooth.
We do. Yeah.
Yep. So you know what, Pat, as usual, when you come on, we find out that there is a special cover on your edition. So what edition will we be seeing or discussing this time around?
This will be the fall issue, and the fall issue is always the annual caregiver issue. So there's resources targeting caregivers to better serve and love on their elder loved ones.
Oh, that is so warm. You know what? A lot of people, to me, when you say love on their loved ones, and they don't always have to be elderly, they can be a person, you know, stricken with a condition or a disabled person and everything, because caregivers are across the board. Just the ages of caregivers seem to be widening every day from our young adults helping their parents to our siblings helping each other to the children tending to the older parent. So the spectrum of caregiving is getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a tremendous number of younger caregivers these days that have previously been overlooked. We have a lot of male caregivers these days who are
Oh
stepping
yeah.
up to the plate. And we target on those that are serving older adults.
Okay. You know, and I want to say hats off to our male caregivers because anytime you're a young man or older person and you're caring for your mom in particular, your mom, you know, that's a shock in itself that a man feel like I gotta take care of my mom and she's always taking care of me. It's okay. I think it's an honor to see men step to the plate and be able to handle their female parents affairs and their health and hygiene just all the way around. I mean, throw out the dishwater that, you know, that's a woman. That's my mom.
Mhm,
Yep,
mhm.
that's my
And
mom.
and
So,
that it's so prevalent now, there's specific programs targeting male caregivers.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
A lot of them are
Good.
taking advantage of the help that's available.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we know what we gotta touch on that more, Pat, because there's a lot of men out there that's still not sure what to do and who to connect with. So we gotta do like a special, you know, edition or something on that. Male caregivers and what can you do or how to get connected. You know, I think the men should come together and design or develop a book or something, you know, of resources that help another man along the way when he's caring for his parent. I think that would be helpful. What you think?
They've done that.
Oh, I'm late. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I need to get that book. Okay, so let's go let's go to this cover page, Pat. So I couldn't wait to find out what you have here. And whoa, this one it looks deep.
Uh,
Losing memory, retaining creativity.
that's
What?
correct. And we
Oh.
didn't do a story on this lovely lady. She's an artist
Mm-hmm.
who is also a dementia patient at Hannan Center's Adult Daybreak Adult Day Program. And she
Okay.
did both of those pieces of art
Wow.
since her
Okay.
diagnosis. Yes.
Okay.
Aren't they
That's
fabulous? And
yes,
has
yes.
no memory or recall of having
Mm.
done them.
Are you serious? Oh,
Hmm.
wow. That is, I mean, I'm taken by it because you said she doesn't have memory of doing it. Wow. So now is she? So her work is featured at the Hannan Center.
Yes, yes. There
Okay.
was recently, the Solutions Journalism Program partnered with Hannon
Mhm. Mhm.
and, brought in artwork, and she was one of the honorable mentions.
Okay. You know what? I
Mhm.
recall it, but I wasn't sure that, when you brought up that photo, that she was that person. But wow, that was a beautiful event.
Right.
Caregiving, emerging
Y
caregivers.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that was nice. That was really nice. Okay. So, okay, Pat, now moving right along, we're going to get into these pages here. And I know this Daybreak program looks familiar. Who is this?
This is Hannon Center, who I was
Yeah.
just talking about, that
Mhm.
the artist is a client of Daybreak, and so it's a center right in Midtown Detroit that initially started off serving only patients who had dementia, but they've since extended it to other disease types where families and caregivers just need a respite and need to get away. And so they serve lunch and they have activities, and it's a safe environment for your elder loved ones.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm glad they did extend their program because people who had other health challenges and conditions wondered, well, I need somewhere to take my parent or my sibling while I run some errands, and there isn't a place. So with Hannon opening their doors or expanding their services more, that's great. That's really great. Okay.
And
All
a lot of
right.
people still remember it being called Hannon House, but it's now Hannon Center.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you a little story. I was calling it Hannon House because we used to go there and have lunch, and
Yes,
then the director, Vincent Tilford, correct me and told me, "No, it's not that. It's Hannon." He got me good that day, and I was like, "Okay, sir." But now I do know the name and I know the place, and they did bring back a kitchen area for people to have lunch. So
yes.
one while we was all going there, as state workers and coming from all over, where just having lunch there. Then when they changed the platform, and we was like, "What?" So I'm glad.
Mhm.
I'm glad Vincent Tilford corrected me, and with all these wonderful resources that they have over there at Hannon Center, it is beautiful. It is definitely
Ye
people got to go over there and see that artwork. They were
Oh, isn't it gorgeous? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Pat, we're gonna move on here so we can go through these pages, and we got this page here. Caregivers Coalition supports through those who provide care, changing the care for conversation. What's that all about?
So the story on top and the ad that's on the bottom is promoting um, there's a group called the Southeast Michigan Senior Regional Collaborative. And that is a group of 30 plus organizations that who serve seniors,
Mm-hmm.
who provide senior programming. And on the bottom of this page, they're promoting their podcast. And the story talks about the coalition and how the Senior Regional Collaborative was awarded dollars to convene caregivers throughout Michigan to come and talk about the issues and develop a platform
Okay.
to address those issues.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
the Caregiver Coalition.
And excuse me, that's our dear friend Christy King.
Christy King, yes.
Yes, all right. Tell Miss King we say, well, congratulations. We have to get her come on the show and elaborate about that program. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so who do we have here? Let's see.
I'll
Employee
just briefly
caregiver.
say I always include the caregiver prayer because Lord knows caregivers need a prayer. So it's a lovely a prayer there um, for caregivers. And then there's a story about for caregivers who are still working
Mm-hmm.
to give them some ideas of how they might approach their employer about their caregiving duties and just give them some ideas of the kinds of things that are available to them, including the FMLA law.
You know what? Well, of course, when we were coming through, a lot of that was still shut down, but they've gotten a little more. I don't know. I think you know what, for the FMLA program, involved in Family and Medical Leave Act. it should be clear. Sometimes you do need to make sure your job is secure while you're taking care of a family member. It's not like you're just running off and, hey, I ain't got nothing to do and I want to use my FMLA. This stuff comes into play in real times. You know, you may have
Oh,
to go out of,
absolutely.
yeah, you might be out of town and have to. I had a coworker, she was in another state taking care of her sister,
Mhm.
so but her job was secure with the FMLA. So I hope a lot of people look into their FMLA and really learn to understand what it covers and what it won't cover, so that before you
Right.
have to make that initial move to take care of your loved ones, you got the
Right.
paperwork in order.
And
Yeah.
communication is the key. Talk to your employer early and see what the benefit is.
You get that right real early before things jump off. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So what we have here, dispelling myths about hospice care and resources. Is that what we're talking about today?
Yeah, yeah, and you probably know this too, Marcia, that our people in general are adverse to accessing services through hospice because they think the medical community will just cease to offer any assistance or help. And one of the things that's mentioned in the story, you get there's great benefits in hospice service. And so if it's offered to you, I would suggest that people consider it because you get additional help that you would not normally get. And people are on hospice sometime as long as 3 years. Um, they can kick you off.
Yeah.
But the services that Medicare will pay for are, pretty
Mhm.
significant.
I would hope that, a person who knows that their loved one has a terminal condition would just do the research before they have to use hospice care, and then find out what the different levels are. So palliative, care, hospice care, you got to know that you have some option there, because the word hospice, I'm just being honest with you, Pat, it just turns me off. Like, that means it's getting close to the end, but that doesn't mean it's just that it sounds that way. So that's why I said we need to have people educate themselves way better and way in advance before they have to use this type of program, so they know what options they have when they're using it.
Well,
What you
that's
think?
the purpose of the article, to try to dispel, debunk some of
Okay.
the some of the myths.
You got a point there. Dispel, debunk. Okay, Miss Pat. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Growing the caregiver's patient bond. What does that mean?
Well, when you invite someone into your home to help you care for your loved one, these are just some tips that you might consider to um, strengthen the bond between your loved one and this stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's quite a few tips I thought that are really helpful, like, to get the conversation started. For instance, pull out a family photo album
Yep.
and have them go through it with the loved one and the new caregiver.
I'm going to
Uh,
say something. I didn't mean to stop you there, but you know what? I always tell people, if you're going to invite a person to help you care for your family members, you have to have that person come to the house a couple of days, with you there, stay there with them, have lunch, watch TV, play card, do something. Don't just say, "Mom, Marsha's gonna stay here with you while I go to the store." That's not gonna work. Okay, you need
no,
to have it where the family member can warm up to the caregiver, but the caregiver has to spend time with you, the employer or whatever, to make sure that they're comfortable. Because you can't just thrust somebody in the house and the parents say, I don't want anybody in my house. That's what everybody say. I don't want anybody in my house. So in order to take that out, you need to spend time having a caregiver over at least 2 to 3 times, just in general, to kind of soften the way so that they can come in, and then one day you can tell the parent, "I'm going to go to the store and Marsha's going to stay here with you, okay?" And then he
right.
or
There's
she
an
feel like it's
introductory
right,
process.
right,
Yep.
right. I mean,
Hmm.
come on now. We got to think outside the box, people. We can't just jump up and down and say, "Well, I need somebody here to take care of my mom." You don't know them and they don't know them. And then you wonder why your parent didn't eat. You wonder why your parents not talking. Now you know.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I'm just that way. Don't just throw somebody into the mixing bowl and think that they're going to work. It doesn't mean that. Okay, so because just like you got right here, Pat, finding the right fit. In an oh wow, finding the right fit in a nursing home. Okay, did I jump a page, Pat? Did I jump
I
on one
don't think
page?
so. I think that
Okay,
was next.
okay.
That's
So
just
now,
some tips again on what to look
mhm,
for. A lot of times, when you're being discharged from a nursing home, I mean, from the hospital,
mhm.
you get 3 days to make up your mind. And so these are some tips to help you sort of judge, to assess a nursing home or a skilled rehab facility.
Yeah, because to me, if you're going to have your parents or someone in the family in a facility, you need to visit that a couple of times. I mean, make the rounds because a discharged social worker from the hospital, she gives you a list and tell you, well, go over the list and see who you like to have.
Exactly.
Right. Well, within that list, you need to stop by. You need to, go by a couple of times and see what you see if you smell anything, see if you see something out of place, all that. Even if you just go and see what the dinner looks like, have a drop-in visit. Don't just assume that because the social worker in the hospital who's discharging your loved one gave you the right place to go to. That doesn't mean anything. That's a list. And do you know
Right.
also that on the list, I'm not sure if they still do this, but they used to have some type of indicator by them. Like I don't know if it was a star or a check mark to something that tells
Yeah,
you about their love.
that piece talks about CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, um, has a rating system
Yeah.
that is somewhat helpful. Yeah.
Well,
But
it's real.
yeah.
Yeah, it's real helpful to me. It's real. real helpful.
Well,
Okay,
you
let's
can't
go.
always go by it because sometimes they'll have maybe a 3-star, but the reason that it has a 3 star is for something that might be minor. Maybe I can't
But
think
you
off
can
the top of my.
ask. Yeah,
But
but
you can ask and you
yeah,
find out what were the corrective actions on the
correct,
part of the nursing home.
correct, correct.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, what do we have here, Pat? This is page 16. So this one is
Oh, yeah, that's
16.
the rest of the, Caregiver Coalition story. Our own Crystal White and Laura Riddick were, recently presented at the, Aging USA,
Mm-hmm.
uh, conference. For their
Okay.
caregiver program. They and several other AAAs in Michigan developed a webinar series. That's what it
Okay.
was.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. So now we're over here with our good friend Marilyn. Okay, Marilyn Lawson. So are we
Yeah.
talking about Maryland or are we talking about something else there? So Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare patients have protection against being discharged too soon. I always talk about that. I keep telling people better pay attention. What's what is Marilyn saying or what are we saying here, Pat?
So basically, it's an article telling you how to, for instance, if you are being hospitalized and say, for instance, a family member thinks they're not ready to go home, but the hospital is ready to discharge you. Maryland help walk us through the process of appealing that decision. And so we have the agencies that are listed where people who are through Medicare or through Medicaid, how they can appeal the decision, um, and say, this person is not ready to go home, and the
You know,
steps you would take.
that's true, and there's supposed to be the number on your medical card that you can use to have an ombudsman come in and halt
Mhm.
that discharge. Because if you're going to be discharged, say like it's Sunday night, and they tell you you're going to be discharged Monday morning. You
Right.
only got so many minutes, to make that phone call. So it's supposed to be either a hospital administration on board called the ombudsman in the hospital, or you can call the number on the back of your medical card and tell them, you know what, you still feel like your health is at risk and you need to speak to someone to stop this discharge. But people don't know that they can speak up for themselves, and people's families don't know that they can speak up for them too and say the same thing that you know what, mom's not ready. You can look and see she's not ready because this is the insurance game, ladies and gentlemen. So when it's an insurance game, you got to know how to play the game. Pull it back, tell them, wait a minute, I don't care if it's 2 more days, 3 more days, or 1 more day. If she or he is not ready, don't be in a hurry to push him out just because it's a 14-day turnaround from your insurance. That's my
Right.
thought. That's my thought, okay, 'cause
Mhm.
I know how that go. I was in the hospital and I had surgery, major surgery, and I think they discharged me like maybe, I don't know, somewhere around 14 days or so, but I had a relapse and had to come back, and that was a whole new claim again, and I looked at that doctor like, "Why did you do that?" And my mind was like, if I wasn't so high off the medication, I would've told him, "No, I wasn't going." No, I wasn't going. And so when went back the second time, didn't they keep me for 21 days? I was counting the days and was ready to go. Okay. I'm just saying, people, let's do better than what we have been when it comes to finding out if the person, your loved one, is being properly discharged, because they may not be. They may not.
Right.
Okay. All right. So from there, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to, oh, are we talking about UTIs
Yeah,
again?
yeah. Speaking of hospitals, I remember with my father that we went to the emergency room more times than I care to think about because of UTI.
Mm-hmm.
And it disorients or older adults. It gives them dementia-like
Yes.
mannerism and action.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a piece to kind of make people aware of some things that you could do to maybe offset and avoid or prevent UTIs and prevent having to make so many emergency room visits.
And you know what else? If a person doesn't recognize the fact that their loved one may be suffering from a UTI, because that's something you just don't automatically say. You got a urinary tract infection. You don't know that, but you see that they're starting to babble, or they're being cranky, or delusional. It's a whole lot of signs and symptoms to UTI, young and old. So,
Yes,
with
yeah.
that being said, I'd rather you just take the person to the doctor or to the hospital and just get them checked out and say, "Can you check and see if they have a UTI?" you
Well,
know?
but before that, I would recommend, I mean, you keep them hydrated. There's some
Yeah.
steps that you could do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And I always tell people, if your loved ones don't want a glass of water, give them crushed ice. Just give them a cup of crush that ice, break it down, and you will find that some elders like having crushed ice. Whether they spoon it, whether they toss it back in their mouth, they just love. I don't know why people like crushed ice. I never did, but some people
Mhm.
like crushed ice. All right. All right, Pat. So here we go with this legal documentation, documents to execute now for peace of mind, meeting conflict with meditation. What's going on here?
That's conflicts with mediation, which
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
when
I'm reading
families,
fast.
and they often do, fall into conflict. This sister wants this for mom, another sister wants something. There are services available through the Elder Law and Advocacy. It's Michigan Neighborhood Legal Services Elder Law and Advocacy Center that will help families come to some resolution because the program is designed for the betterment of the older adult. And if the
Mm-hmm.
siblings are fighting, then that doesn't help mom or dad. So mediation is a process that will hopefully get them to come up with some resolution. Also, I just wanted to, everybody knows annually, Medicare open enrollment time, October 15th to December 7th. And it's always a good time to call your agent and review your policy. If things have changed from
Mm-hmm.
last year, make the necessary changes
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
2025 implementation.
Yeah. It's about that time. Matter of fact, we're right in the middle of it right now. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Great. All right. So what do we have here? Before
Well,
taking the keys.
yeah, yeah. Before people think you just snatch the keys from the older adult and make their lives miserable that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's another way you can actually anonymously, you have to give your name and so forth, but the older adult won't know. Request a reevaluation of someone's driving. So you fill out this form either online or at the Secretary of State, and you ask you identify the older adult that you have a concern about, and the state will take it from there and ask that person to come in for an evaluation. And a lot of times when
Yeah.
people simply should no longer drive, the state will say your license is suspended.
Now, I know that is the best way to go about it, probably so. But for my stepmom at the time when she wanted to drive, we gave her what we call dummy keys. And
Mm.
she kept going to the car because even when you tell them, they still wasn't going for that. So that's a good way to do it. Legally through the statewide program. But we end up having to design a key, and to that key looked like a car key, and she just kept going in that car, and finally she gave up. So I think a
Uh-huh.
lot of times you guys, it's a lot of things we do trickery dickery, but we still find a way to get the question the problem
And this
solved.
process through the state, if there's time for that,
Yeah.
I've known of other families that just did something under the hood so that the car wouldn't
You see?
wouldn't
You
start or
see?
wouldn't work.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Pat, I want to get these last two in before we escape. So, what's going on here with this leaving real
The
property
biggest
to a loved
issue a
one?
lot of times with our families is the seamless transfer of property.
Mm-hmm.
Mama's house, and when she has made her transition, you don't want any legal problem. So this
Mm-hmm.
talks about the Ladybird deed or Ladybird deed primarily, where if families
Okay. Yeah.
file this document early
The house.
enough, then there
Mm-hmm.
won't be problem transferring the property.
Okay. Okay. And got 2 minutes left. So, we got our 8th annual Veterans Resource Fair coming up.
Absolutely,
And
November 21st.
okay. All right. We
Yeah,
have to
in
go say
Southgate.
hi to, yep, say hi to Mr. Sabri and the rest of the group. Very,
Yep.
very lucrative and wonderful program. Yeah. Well, Pat, I hate to run because we always have fun when you come. So will you come back and see us again?
I'll do my best.
Okay, that's all I want you to say. All right, hold that thought. Hold that thought.
If you store your guns properly,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
And I won't have to tell my kids, this isn't a drill.
Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Always lock it up.
This isn't a workout video. It's about how LLS has helped blood cancer patients like me thrive and how your donation can help countless others. Please give today at lls.org.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know how I am. I don't like to rush, but I had to go. So, Pat Rencher gave us a wealth of information on the Urban Aging News, and you can always, definitely reach out to her. But there's her phone number and the website right there at the bottom of the page. And if you're unable to reach her, then you can reach us at justastalkshow.org, and our phone number is at the bottom of the page. So, without a doubt, if you are interested in watching the Just As Talk Show, catch us on PBS on channel 56 every Wednesday morning at 5:30 a.m. and several cable stations. Now, with all that being said, what do I always say? You know how excited I am when I am to see it, but I hate to have to go. I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask, and what do I always say? If you have a question about a person with a disability or just a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. See you next time.